Well, I'm back again. I'm back into you on this now 15th day of March in 2012 to bring you another little short video. And I entitled this video Million Man Ripoff. Million Man Ripoff. And of course, that's a abbreviated version of the Million Man March, of which I was a part of back in 1995. And I guarantee you there was more than a million black men out there on that day. That I can guarantee you. There had to be up to anywhere up to 1.5 million to 2 million black men out there on that Washington Mall that day. And I never forget being in awe of how many people were out there. But the ultimate question is, what was gained by that movement? Why don't we see similar events taking place today? What happened to the momentum of that movement? That here you have over 1 million black men ready, willing, and able to take action. What happened? What went wrong? What went right? And I would suggest to you that I feel ripped off, man. I truly feel ripped off by what took place on that day. And I really shouldn't be, seeing all the people who organized that event, and what their ultimate intent was. Because I'm still in awe at the fact that, I saw the big box. They had boxes going around collecting money that seemed like they were the size of refrigerator boxes. And myself, I put $5 in the box. And I know other people put $5, $10, $20 bills in that fucking box. And for them to turn around and tell me they only collected $285,000, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's a bunch of bullshit. Now you're gonna tell me you organize an event, and part of what you're trying to accomplish is to collect funds to cover your expenses at least, and probably a little more for the speakers, whatever the case may be, and you don't provide enough people to collect the kind of money that you think you need. I just think that's a bunch of bullshit to this day. So I feel that it was a fucking ripoff. And then what happened after that? What was gained? What was changed? Nothing. We're still talking about the same old tired shit that we've been talking about for the last fucking, I don't know how long, 50 years, since the 60s. About how the white man's trying to hold us back and he's trying to hold us down, and white man's trying to sabotage everything we try to do and all this other shit. And I'll continue to say the white man ain't got to try to do shit. He's very adept and very successful at and it's been a long time since the black man has really done anything that can be considered a threat to what white people are trying to do against us. I think Malcolm X said it best. Said it last and said it best. The Nation of Islam was the greatest organization the black man ever had, but niggers ruined it. And those are not my words, those are his words. And never have truer words been spoken. And I will suggest to you that, yes, Minister Farrakhan is one of those fucking niggers. And whether he sees himself or his followers, see himself in that role, I do. Because one of my earliest memories as a child was and this is before, and like I said, I lived in like when I was like 10, 12, so I was like 13, on a block, and right on the corner of where I lived there was a Shabazz restaurant, which of course was part of, was owned and operated by, members of the Nation of Islam. And I remember the brothers coming up, and talking to us and saying different things to us. But the main thing I remember was going there, having lunch, or, having snacks in there, and eating the great cheeseburgers that they served. The sisters cooked up, and the soups and things that they made. And of course the bean pies. And my favorite, of course, ginger beer. A lot of you may remember ginger beer. The original ginger beer that was sold by Nation of Islam, but it was a great drink. I remember that. I remember playing with the owner's son Brother Leroy and his son Junior, and how me and my friends used to make, we used to play this game. We used to play this game called Soldier Game, and he was our captain. And of course, the captain has to feed the troops. And it's his father owned the restaurant. And being our captain, he would come back with all kinds of treats, cookies and candy and shit for us to eat. Because he made him captain. It's just shit I remember. But I guess one of the most vivid memories I have at that time, in terms of my connection with the Nation of Islam, was as a friend, a childhood friend of mine from since long as I can remember, becoming a Muslim, and how he constantly talked to me about his position in the Nation of Islam. And it was always, it was always something, to do with the nation and what he was doing to the nation. And he turned me on certain books, and I think the one book that really sticks out of my mind that he turned me on to regarding Nation of Islam was called The Judas Factor, and it had to do with the assassination of Malcolm X. And you know what? Out of all the books I've had an opportunity to read, I haven't read that book yet, and I really want to get to read it. And I hope that some of you decide to go out and get it, because it's very important, and it shows how the Nation of Islam was totally infiltrated by the FBI, CIA, and all other organizations. And this character named John Muhammad was definitely an FBI informant and agent, and he's all in through this book called The Judas Factor. So I would hope that you want to get out and read that. And so when we look at the Nation of Islam, we look at Mr. Farrakhan. I mean, come on. I mean, what have they really done? I'm sure they've done some things, but have they really, risen and done the things that they could have potentially done as an organization? The answer is no. They stay pretty much to themselves. I don't see them doing anything in terms of any activism in the community that I can see, except collect money, sell newspapers and bean pies and whatever else that the minister sells. That's all I can see. But I do remember before Mr. Farrakhan really took the reins. This is shortly after the death of the prophet Elijah Muhammad, and this was in '72 to be exact. The Minister Farrakhan came to New York, and the Bronx in particular, to speak. And I don't know why this brother David, who I knew from my neighborhood, why he decided to ask me to come with him to hear Minister Farrakhan speak. To this day, I'll never understand why, because he had nephews and other people he could have took, but he asked me. This is when I couldn't have been no more than 13 years old, maybe 12, 13 years old, when I went with him to listen to Minister Farrakhan speak in the Bronx. And it was like in some kind of abandoned building, it seemed like. You know how buildings are about to be torn down, they have all the scaffolding over it. That's where he was speaking at. And I went with him to that I guess gathering, or whatever you want to call it, for Minister Farrakhan. He spoke, the minister spoke, and then I remember very vividly him coming up to me and shaking my hand, saying, "Hey, how you doing, brother? Good to see you, brother," and shaking my hand. I remember that very clearly. To this day, it stays with me, and I have to give Brother David credit for that. And again, this is something that we just can't lose sight of. There are people in these organizations, however much you want to downgrade them and say they're bad, but there's some dedicated and devoted people in those organizations. The foot soldiers, the nameless, faceless people that we can't, just like I talk about David Koresh, and I talk about Jim Jones in Jonestown. Jonestown was a beautiful place, man. If the people could have got rid of Jim Jones, it could have been a parrot. They had it going on. From what I can see, they had it going the fuck on. And it's the same thing with the Nation of Islam. There are people, dedicated, devoted people who work hard, like Brother David, because Brother David didn't have to take me to see Minister Farrakhan. Brother David could have took me out to smoke some weed. Brother David could have took me somewhere to try to molest me and do something else to me. But he didn't. He took me straight away to see the minister speak And he brought me right back home to show you where his dedication and devotion was. But it's a shame that Brother David was, I feel, and this is my opinion, and again it goes back to the saying of Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam was the greatest organization that the black man ever had, but niggas ruined it. Niggas ruined it. And the way that we look at and think about life. Like I said in my last fucking video, we just turned on and turned out to worthless trinkets and shiny objects. And look how Mr. Farrakhan lives. He got mansions and homes and all kinds of shit, but then his followers who knows how they're living. And that's not right. There's something wrong about that. So no, we can't make any progress. We can't be unified until we deal with these issues that we have problems. And to really bring the point home, I posted a couple of videos from someone, again, Professor Clark, John Henry Clark, who talks about Minister Farrakhan, talks to the Million Man March, and how he sees it. And again, this man has walked with all the leaders of all the black leaders and activists of the fucking 20th century. He not only just knows them by name, he knows them personally, and has walked and talked with them, especially Malcolm X, because he was Malcolm X's historian when Malcolm X was alive. And he talks about his feelings about Minister Farrakhan, which I'm going to let you hear for yourself, and his organization. And so no, we can't make any progress. You're not going anywhere. You can't just put it all off on white people. I mean, we can blame, ultimately, we can put the whole situation on white people in terms of how we're fucked up, but at the end of the day, we have to look at the damage that has been done to us as a group and individually that we allow, not just the white people, but we allow to keep us divided. And that keeps us fucked up. And we have a lot of greedy, fucking sick people in our community who are very smart, who are very, who have a gift of gab, that can, talk up a fucking storm, that really just a bunch of fucking shysters who wanna, pat their own pockets and make themselves rich, and don't give a fuck what happened to you or me. And we have to know who. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the case of Minister Farrakhan. I'm sure he has. Of course he does. He has some concern, but his self-interest, really outweigh whatever he thinks about us. And now I just got some information here recently about the founder of Kwanzaa. I can't say his name. Marala Karanga, where the fuck his name is, and the shit that he was involved in back during the 60s and 70s. And the fact that he was a fucking FBI agent, and he had actually kidnapped and kept captive black women and tortured them. This is not something I'm just making up. There's criminal records. He went to jail for this. But yet he talks about atonement and about black men, trying to make it right with black. He's the one that, as far as the Million Man March goes, I guess he's the one that created their manifesto or whatever it was going. He did that whole shit. But look at his past and what he's been involved in. So we have to be, and the main thing is clarity. Let's be clear. Let's not just make, fucking, blanket statements or just uninformed, uneducated statements about people before we really know who and what they are and what their intentions are. Because everybody can sound nice, you can sound nice, but who knows what is underneath my, good sounding fucking intentions. And I think that, again, as far as Minister Farrakhan goes, as far as the Nation of Islam goes, great, they've done a great job. And I want to thank Minister Farrakhan, I want to thank Mr. Karanga, because they teach us, they educate us, and let us, and give us and allow us, if we accept it, to grow and understand that no, every black person who talks about black power and black unity doesn't really give a fuck about that. All they care about is how they can pat their own pockets and make themselves more comfortable at your and my expense. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the case with Mr. Farrakhan and Mr. Karanga, but when you add it all up, I mean, what other conclusion can you possibly come to? And when you realize that, it's not a matter of hating them or feeling, we should feel grateful for them. We should be thankful to them because they teach us. And they give us an opportunity to grow and to learn that we have to look much deeper and much closer. And we have to wait and allow time to pass before you pass judgment, good or bad. It's not just pass negative judgment, but then pass positive judgment on a person. Like I said, I went years without knowing about Mr. Karanga and his criminal fucking activities in regards to kidnapping and raping, black women. And then, Minister Farrakhan, again, I know his story. I mean, he, and it's just, to me, it's no different than the shit that we see happen over in Africa with, Mobutu Sese Seko and Patrice Lumumba, and how he, had him killed and assassinated so he could have power. And what the Mobutu do? He built himself an empire onto himself. He's a multi-fucking billionaire, while his people are still, scrambling around trying to find a way to live. But if Patrice Lumumba had been allowed to live and to carry out his policies and his vision for that Zaire or that country, who knows what it would have been. And it's the same thing with Malcolm X. If he would, been allowed to live and continue to be here, who knows what he would have been, But it's amazing. It's amazing how it's all been. These niggas have killed all black people, all these fucking militants and these black separatists and all these black revolutionaries. The only people they've destroyed is their fucking selves. The only people they've killed is themselves. And so, what does that say for us here today? It doesn't sound very good. In other words, we're not learning, we're not growing, and we're just not understanding, the amount of fucking trouble we're really in. And going to pay for that. That's not free. Ignorance and backwardness or lack of understanding and stupidity is not free. You got to pay for that. And it's going to be extremely, extremely painful. If not for you, then for your children. And, that's pretty much all I had to say about it. I hope I said something. Again, a Million Man rip-off, which I feel it was a fucking rip-off. Because, if they're telling me that all the fucking millions of people, they only collected $248,000, that's a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry to say. That's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Please watch the 2 videos that I have linked below of Dr. Clark, expressing his opinion. And it's just because it's like an 8 video series, but I only post the first 2 videos. If you want to watch, if you want to go deeper, you can. But take your time, listen carefully, because he's elderly and he has a hard time talking, so you have to listen closely, and you have to be patient with him. But if you listen, you'll learn something. You'll definitely benefit from what he has to say. But you have to give Dr. Clark time, and listen to him closely. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Until next time, thank you. Well, I'm back again. I'm back into you on this now 15th day of March in 2012 to bring you another little short video. And I entitled this video, Million Man Ripoff. Million Man Ripoff. And of course, that's a, abbreviated version of the Million Man March, of which I was a part of back in 1995. And I guarantee you there was more than a million events taking place today. What happened to the momentum of that movement? That here you have over 1 million black men ready, willing, and able to take action. What happened? What went wrong? What went right? And I would suggest to you that I feel ripped off, man. I truly feel ripped off in black men out there on that day. That I can guarantee you. There had to be up to anywhere up to 1.5 million to 2 million black men out there on that Washington Mall that day. And I never forget being in awe of how many people were out there. But the ultimate question is, what was gained? What was gained by that movement? Why don't we? Why don't we see similar $5 in the box? And I know other people put $5, $10, $20 bills in that fucking box, and for them to turn around and tell me they only collected $285,000, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's a bunch of bullshit. Now you're gonna tell me you organize an event, and you know part of what you're trying to accomplish is to collect funds to cover your expenses at least, and probably a little about what took place on that day. And I really shouldn't be, seeing all the people who organized that event, and what their ultimate intent was. Because I mean, I'm still in awe at the fact that I saw the big box. I mean, they had boxes going around collecting money that seemed like they were the size of refrigerator boxes. And myself, I put